Are you crazy? My lawyer, Donald Jenkins, exclaimed. They have an airtight case against you. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, and there's crystal clear video footage from 3 separate security cameras, all in broad daylight. Your fingerprints and DNA are on every weapon you used. Your motive is well documented. Plus, the cops caught you in the act, and their video cameras captured you attacking him. Yeah, those are all very good points. I understood why he thought I was crazy for refusing the plea deal they offered. If I plead guilty, I'd get 5 years in prison and another 5 years probation. If I went to trial and was found guilty, the judge might sentence me to 15, 20 years. But if I were a normal, intelligent person, I wouldn't be in this situation. First, I wouldn't have committed the crime. And if I did, I would have at least tried to cover my tracks. No, I did it, and I didn't care who knew. Listen, you hired me to represent and advise you. I'm telling you that you don't stand a chance in court. The DA is offering this deal because of the backlog of cases. By taking it, you save yourself the cost and time of a trial. It's unnecessary. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't like it, but no lawyer in the world can save you from this. I can't even offer any protection. If we go to trial, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the DA tear you apart. I don't have anything to justify my defense. As soon as the prosecution finishes, I'll just drop my case too. I can't call a single witness for your defense. You're done. The only thing you can do is reduce this disaster by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a lot of money and only make things worse for you. So, lawyer, when will the trial be? How long will it last? And how long after that until sentencing? I asked. His eyes glazed over as he tried to grasp my indifference. Due to the coronavirus, the trial will happen in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on charges, and an evidentiary hearing. I'll file motions that need to be addressed, and the DA will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and let her know what my bail will be. She'll post bail for me. It won't be cheap, not your problem. Also, send her your invoices. She'll take care of them. He left, probably thinking about ordering a psychiatric evaluation for me. Maybe there could be an insanity plea. I was fine with that. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best, not that it really mattered. Oh, you might be wondering what's going on. Let me go back a couple of months. So, my name is Dan Malloy. I'm 56 years old and live with my wonderful and loving wife, Kimberly. We've been married for 25 years and have 2 great daughters, Gina and Susan. Gina is 22 and in her final year of college, studying mechanical engineering like me. Sue is 20 and studying business administration. They plan to take over my firm when I retire. We run a small company and aren't rich, but we're comfortable. We own our house, still making payments, but only a few years left. We drive decent cars, even if they aren't luxury models. I ensured I had enough money in my investment accounts to retire comfortably at 65. Kimberly has been a stay-at-home mom since Gina was born. Once both kids were settled in school, she volunteered for various charities to stay busy while the girls were at school. When Sue left for college, her volunteer hours increased to fill her time. I didn't mind and even encouraged her. It made her happy and allowed us to attend more evening events. Kim and I had an amazing bed life when we were dating, engaged, and newly married. Having kids slowed us down a bit, but it remained frequent and exciting. As the kids grew and our responsibilities increased, and as we got older, things became a little less exciting and happened less often. Still, lovemaking brought satisfaction to both of us. We probably did it 2 to 3 times a week. No, it wasn't as adventurous as when we were younger, and it was pretty predictable, but we still had lovemaking. Everything collapsed on a clear autumn morning last week. I had been to the doctor for some tests. For a while, I felt overwhelmed and lethargic, like I was tired all the time. Kim noticed and urged me to make an appointment. I was depressed when I left the office with the test results. I decided not to return to work that day. I needed to go somewhere, to think and make plans and decisions. I also needed to think about what to tell my wife and daughters. I headed to a small sports bar for a burger and some booze while processing the news. I was at a traffic light outside a local college when I noticed my wife's car pulling away. This wasn't surprising since she volunteered for college tutoring. She earned an English degree before we married and has always loved literature. In her free time, she tutored some students on campus. What was surprising was that she wasn't alone. In fact, she wasn't even driving. Kim was in the passenger seat and a young, very large black guy was driving. I was 2 cars away, and they didn't see me. Even from a quick glance, it was clear that Kim's full attention was on the guy behind the wheel. It all seemed wrong, so I decided to follow them. keeping at least 2 cars between us. 5 minutes later, I watched them pull into a cheap motel. As they turned right into the motel parking lot, I turned left into a shopping center parking lot. I had just parked when I saw them get out of her car and enter the hotel lobby. I watched as they walked across the second-floor balcony and entered a room. It didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that they wouldn't be studying literature there, but rather anatomy. 2 hours later, I saw them leaving the room. By this time, I had my digital camera ready. I always carry it because I sometimes need to document project issues. I had my zoom lens on to capture detailed photos. He kept his hand on her back as they walked back to the lobby. I recognized him this time. He was the star player on the university football team, graduating this year with scouts from every NFL team watching him. In most mock drafts, he was projected for the mid to late first round, with even the harshest critics predicting he wouldn't drop to the second round. The guy was set to be an NFL star. I'm a bit of a football nut and enjoy following games and analytics, which helps a lot with office pools and game betting. I win more than I lose. Well, my wife is cheating on me. For me, this is the total collapse of our marriage. We discussed this a couple of times. Leave. The rest means something to me. It is a vow to God, family, and friends to each other. This is an oath that you just can't break. Till end of life do you part. It's good, of course, that there is a divorce. Don't you need me anymore? Great. If you're stupid enough to want to leave, I'm smart enough to let you. I already fought for you once. That's what dating and engagement are for. I won that fight when she said I do. I didn't have to fight for her again. Fine. All the plans and decisions I had made needed to be changed. I needed a completely new plan. I waited about 10 minutes after they left before starting the car and continuing on my way. I ended up at the sports bar, which was my original destination. I took my notepad with me and chose a booth at the back of the hall for some privacy. I ordered a burger, beer, and bourbon from the waitress, then began to formulate my plan. I wrote down notes in 4 columns. What will happen to me? What should I do about my daughters? What to do with the traitor? What to do with the fool? First, did it really matter? Not particularly. There was an issue that made everything in this column moot. I had no way to forgive and forget what my cheating wife did. There could be no possible path to reconciliation. I also had no future with my daughters. Although I loved them with all my heart, I would never be invited to their college graduations. I would never walk them down the aisle at their weddings. I would never put their children on my lap. Second, speaking of my daughters, I needed them to be taken care of. Of course, now they were adults and could take care of themselves. However, I wanted them to succeed. They still had to finish college. They then needed to gain experience before taking over the firm. I also needed to make sure they had enough resources to support them until they became completely self-sufficient. If I could leave them more to make their lives better, that would be a bonus. Third, regarding the cheating wife, I wanted to hurt her as much as possible. I would show her what real revenge is. I gave her everything I had, and how did she repay me? Fine, she won't get anything else from me. Fourth, the fool. He took one of the most valuable things from me. I would repay him by taking what he valued most. Once the brainstorming was complete, I started creating a flowchart. For those unfamiliar, a flowchart is used in engineering to define the path of decisions or events. It's an if-then document. You start with the first step, which has 2 branches. If yes, do this. If no, do that. From there, it expands. The result of each step leads to the next step until the problem is solved. It can logically solve almost any problem, identify potential issues in advance, and anticipate obstacles to address them. 4 hours, 3 beers, and 2 double bourbons later, I had the outline of my plan. Unfortunately, 3 beers and 2 double bourbons later, I was in no condition to deal with a cheater. Yes, I probably shouldn't have, but I went back to the office. I wasn't drunk. I had 5 drinks in 4 hours, so I wasn't too bad. Still, I probably exceeded the limit. I have a small room in my office with a bed and an attached bathroom. This was handy for long evenings when I had a deadline and had to work late. It wasn't unheard of for me to use it, but it wasn't common. I sent a quick message to my wife, letting her know I had a deadline and there were some problems. I planned for a long night and just slept in the office. The next morning, I got up and continued with my plans. By noon, I had everything laid out in detailed steps. By the end of the day, I had gone through each step detail by detail and revised as minor problems were discovered. I decided that I had 30 days to take care of everything before the final step. I stayed 2 hours later than usual, rearranging my steps to accommodate deadlines before heading home. By this time, I had enough control over my emotions to carry on as normal. I also made up a cover story to explain to my wife why I was so exhausted and what the doctor said. Basically, I was going to tell her that age and overwork were starting to take their toll. He wanted me to cut back on work a little and play more sports. Of course, I would be too tired for lovemaking for a while until my new lifestyle took effect. Yeah, I could never touch her again, but she didn't need to know that. I managed to spend a normal evening at home. I didn't have to pretend to be tired. I was really tired. Kim tried to be gentle, but I was simply too exhausted from the mental stress and fitful sleep of the previous night. She asked about a project I was working on, and I gave her some nonsense about a time-sensitive design where the parameters had changed. She had never been really involved in the company, so I could tell her almost anything, and she would believe me. The next morning, I got up early. I needed to make some appointments and talk to people. I should probably mention here that the business, like most everything we owned, was registered in my name only. Yes, we started the business after we got married, but I had the income and authority. The company was created as a sole proprietorship. The owner was me. Kim's name wasn't on any document related to our home. Again, the property and mortgage were in my name only. It was easier that way. Kim had no income, so she would only lower her credit rating. It didn't matter to either of us at the time because we planned to spend the rest of our lives together. Even if something happened to me, Kim would be the heir. I had even made a will that stated this. By the end of the week, I had a new will signed and notarized. I also hired a private investigator to watch my wife and gather more evidence of what she was doing. I had no doubts, but the girls would need more concrete evidence. It was a simple step. The next few steps would be a bit more complicated and would require assistance from lawyers and business professionals. "Carly, how is my beloved sister doing today?" I asked when she answered the call. "Damn it! I better be your favorite sister since I'm the only sister you have, you idiot," she answered. "What do you want?" "What do I want? I'm deeply offended that you immediately assume I want something when I call you." Yes. When you start a conversation with that favorite crap, you always want something. What is it?" "Well, besides your sarcastic remarks, I really want to see my beloved and most beautiful sister. It's been a while, and I thought you might want me to treat you to lunch today." "Oh, crap. It's worse than I thought. Favorite, beautiful, and you're buying. Wait until I look at the sky to see if the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are approaching." My sister and I got along very well. We were pretty much all we had left after our parents died. She divorced her cheating husband about 5 years ago. She has since gone back to school and earned an MBA. She was currently working as an account manager for a manufacturing firm in the city. They were one of my clients. In truth, she was too smart for the position, and all she needed was experience and time before she could become vice president. If she had gotten her MBA and started working with them straight out of college, she could have become a CEO by now. Instead, she married this idiot and quit her job for a while. Seriously, Carly, I really need your help. Take the whole day off and meet me at Hammerheads at 11. Wow, there was desperation in my voice, and I'm sure she heard the breakdown in it. Oh, crap. Everything is bad, isn't it? This is worse than you can imagine. Please come. Of course, big brother, I'll be there. Not only are you my big brother, but we both know I owe you everything for what you have done for me. You don't owe me anything, little sister. I did what I did because you are my family. You needed help, and I just did what family does. Okay, then this time I will do as the family does. I was at the same table in the far corner when she entered. The hostess pointed in my direction, and she came and sat down opposite me. "Do you have to go back today?" I asked. "No, you asked me to take the afternoon off, which I did," she answered. Hearing this, I placed our order with the waitress. I knew what she liked, so I just ordered for both of us. Bourbon at this time? Damn, this must be the apocalypse. "Almost," I answered. "Okay, Carly, here it is. You know I have long wanted you to come work for me. I understand you want to be on your own and earn money in your own way. You think that working for your family will look like nepotism. This is simply not true. You are very good at what you do, and you are underestimated where you work. I really need you now." "Listen, Dan, I appreciate your offer. I really do. I'm just not sure how it will work. I know we get along great, but what would be different if you were my boss? I've heard horror stories about family members working together." I sighed. "Okay, sister. I didn't want to do it this way, but I'm desperate. When I said I needed you to work in my company, it wasn't an exaggeration. I need you to do more than just come work at my firm. I need you to take over as CEO. I need you to run the firm at least until Gina and Sue are ready. I need you to be their mentor and prepare them for this. Once they reach 30, you can start handing over responsibilities if you feel they are ready. Gina will likely take over as chief operating officer while Sue will become general manager. By then, you can retire or work as a consultant from time to time. Dan, you're kind of starting to worry me. If I take over your company and train your daughters to become managers when they graduate, what will you do? I couldn't help but notice you missed that part. That's why I wanted you to just accept my offer. I didn't want to go into details right now. I was hoping to tell you differently. Now I have to blame you for this. I sighed. Carly, a week ago, I learned 2 things on the same day. Nobody else knows this, but I'm dying. I have pancreatic cancer. They can't do anything. I'll be lucky if I live another 6 months. It's probably more like 3 or 4 months. Things will quickly go downhill. Another thing is that Kim is cheating on me. I'll handle things with the girls, and you'll be the trustee of the property. Kim won't get a damn thing. Everything is put into trusts, which you will manage with the help of my lawyer. I have already drawn up a will indicating this. I have transferred ownership to a company owned by you, Gina, and Sue. I sold the house to the company, so now it also belongs to the company. I need you to cover for me at work, then spend a few hours every evening and some time on weekends in my office for the next 2 weeks. Weeks? We'll use this time to get you up to speed so you can start as soon as you leave your current job. I'll still be there to help for a week or 2, but no longer than that. We sat in silence for a while. She was trying to come to terms with what I had just told her, and I was waiting for her to process it. Our food arrived, and we ate in silence. While the waitress was collecting our empty plates, Carly asked her for another shot of bourbon. "You're a prick for putting me in this position," she finally said. "Of course I'll do it. You don't leave me much choice." "I know. I'm sorry. Trust me, I wish I didn't have to do this. There are a couple more things I need you to do too, but we'll talk about that later." "Will I be angry about these other things?" she asked with a smile. "You can't even imagine," I answered. We spent the rest of the day discussing the firm and what it needed to do to prepare. She wasn't an engineer, but her role was primarily on the business side of things. I told her that I would promote one of my senior engineers to help her with the technical side of the business. We returned to my office where we began reviewing invoices and other information she would need. Before we left for home, she used my computer to quickly write a letter of resignation from her job. At this point, events started to develop rapidly. Every day I felt more exhausted. I spent long days at the office taking care of the firm and my evenings teaching Carly. We also spent several hours in the office on weekends. Kim began to worry about how tired I was. I would come home, have a quick snack, and then pass out in bed. There was no lovemaking. Kim tried to talk to me about my long hours. I explained that I had a couple of large, time-consuming projects, but that everything would be completed in about 2 more weeks. I told her I was also making a few changes that would reduce my burden, but I needed to take the time now to ensure things went smoothly later. She wasn't happy, but she seemed to understand. It was Friday, Carly's last day at her old job, and she officially started on Monday. The private investigator finished his work, and I sat in his office reviewing the results. She really was having an affair with a football player. 3 times a week, they left campus and went to a motel. There were even photographs and a short video taken through a slightly open curtain. There was no doubt they had lovemaking. I thanked him and paid the rest of the bill. He gave me paper documents and a flash drive. On Sunday evening, Carly and I finished discussing everything so she could start work the next morning. It had been a long day, and I felt it. I knew I needed to get things done this week before I became too exhausted to do so. "Okay, Carly, we've discussed most of what I need you to do. Starting at 7 tomorrow morning, you will be in charge. We met with a lawyer and accountant, and all necessary signatures were notarized. You are officially in charge of all trusts and the company. I'm not going to tell you when, where, or what, but I need you to post bail for me when my lawyer calls you." Crap. You're going to do something stupid, aren't you? It's a matter of opinion, but probably okay. But homiciders are not released on bail. Nobody will die. You don't have to worry about that. I want them to live and regret their actions. Crap. So you don't want Kim to post bail for you? Is it because you don't expect her to be able to do it? I'm not going to hurt her physically. Still, I'm not sure she'll be willing to post bail for me. Fine. Wednesday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was hiding behind a large SUV next to my wife's car on the driver's side. It was parked in the motel parking lot. I heard them talking as they walked back to the car. It had to be fast and furious. From the very beginning, he was much bigger than me. Then there was the fact that he had the strength and endurance of a high-level athlete. Then there was the small problem that I was deprived of strength and stamina due to my illness. I heard the car unlock as he pressed the key fob. He chuckled at something my wife said as he opened the passenger side door. I heard him open the driver's door and attacked. I was already swinging the bat when I rounded the back of the SUV. Kim's eyes began to widen at the sight of me. She didn't even have time to shout a warning when my bat came down hard on his right hand, which was resting on the roof of the car. When the bat bounced off, I continued my movement and uppercut him in the groin. He fell to the ground, trying to simultaneously grab his shattered arm and cover up his groin as he writhed on the asphalt. The bat struck each knee. Both kneecaps were crushed. I had just broken his right elbow when a blinding pain shot through me. My whole body tensed, then convulsed before I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying face down on the sidewalk, with my wrists cuffed behind my back. I learned that due to poor timing, a patrol car had stopped on the street next to us just as I began my attack. The cops saw me jump out of the SUV and attack my wife's lover. They shot me with a taser, preventing the fool from breaking his left elbow. When the ambulance arrived, 3 more patrol cars arrived. As soon as I regained consciousness, I was escorted and placed in the back seat of one of the cars. I found it interesting to watch my hysterical wife give a very animated version of events to a rather attractive policewoman. In the end, I was taken to the police station and arrested. Of course, they put me in an interrogation room. They used ordinary psychological techniques. Leave me alone for an hour or two. Good cop, bad cop. It's nonsense that everything will be fine if I just confess, etc. Seriously, did they want a confession? Why? Unfortunately, these tricks only work on those who actually care what happens to them. I already knew what was going to happen. I was going to die, and there wasn't a damn thing that could change that. The DA had a lost cause, and she knew it. She also had a huge backlog of cases due to the coronavirus affecting judges, jurors, and other support staff. Why waste time on this? The outcome was a foregone conclusion. She proposed a deal. My lawyer presented it to me. I refused. So we are back to the beginning of this story. Are you crazy? It was my lawyer, Donald Jenkins. They literally have an airtight case. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, and very clear video recordings from not 1, not 2, but 3 separate surveillance cameras. And all this in the middle of the day? Your fingerprints and DNA are on every weapon you've used. Your motive is very well documented. This doesn't even mention that the cops actually caught you red-handed, and their video cameras showed you attacking him. Yeah, these are all very good points. I could understand why he thought I might be crazy for refusing the plea deal they offered me. If I plead guilty, I'd get 5 years with another 5 years probation. If I go to court and get found guilty, the judge might sentence me to 15, 20 years. On the other hand, if I were a normal, intelligent person, I wouldn't be in this situation at all. First, it would be better if I hadn't committed the crime. And if I did, I would have acted much smarter and at least tried to cover my tracks. No, I did it, and I didn't care who knew about it. Listen, you hired me to represent and advise you. I'm telling you that you don't stand a chance in court. The DA is only offering this deal because of the backlog of cases. By taking this deal, you avoid the cost and time of litigation. It's unnecessary. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't enjoy it. No lawyer in the world can save you from this. I can't even offer any protection. If we go to trial, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the DA crucify you. I don't even have anything to justify my defense. As soon as the prosecution is finished, I'll just drop my case too. I can't even call a single witness in your defense. You're finished. The only thing you can do is mitigate this disaster as much as possible by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a lot of money just to make things worse for yourself. So, lawyer, when will the trial take place? How long will it last, and how long after that until sentencing? I asked. His eyes seemed to glaze over as he tried to come to terms with the fact that I simply didn't care. Due to the coronavirus, the actual trial will take place in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on charges, and an evidentiary hearing. I'll file motions that need to be heard, and the DA will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and let her know what my bail will be. She'll post bail for me. It won't be cheap. Not your problem. Also send her your invoices. She will definitely take care of them. He left. I'm sure he was thinking about doing a psychiatric evaluation on me. Perhaps there could be a plea of insanity. I was fine with that. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best. Not that it really mattered. Kim surprised me by actually coming to see me. I was still in jail. I was charged and given bail. Carly had to post bail for me, but she was a little upset about the carnage. She would have helped me out, but first, she wanted me to cool off for a couple of days. "I'm sorry," she started. Fine. It really didn't mean anything to me. There wasn't really any romance or feelings. It was easy lovemaking. I finished it for her. Yes, he was just so big and strong. He had that confidence that takes over the whole room. And yes, he was a little better than me. Congratulations. I'm glad he could make you happy. She definitely wasn't happy now. She started sobbing, then abruptly stood up and ran out. The next day, I was released on bail. Carly picked me up and took me back to the office. "Well, if you wanted to ruin his life, you succeeded. He will never play sports again, not even for fun. His right hand is crushed. They expect it to recover at best only 50% of its use. Both knees are destroyed. He'll be able to walk again, but that's it. His elbow will never fully extend either," she said after we sat down in her office. "So, I did it. Why such a massacre?" "He took away one of the most valuable things I had. I decided to repay him in kind. He took my wife from me. I took the game of football away from him. An eye for an eye. The future is for the future. You realize they're going to sue, don't you?" "Sue whom and for what? Are they going to sue me? I'll be dead long before this comes to trial. If they try to seize my property, they will find that I don't have it. All I have at the moment is a couple of $1,000s, which I can live on for a couple more months. They can sue all they want, but they have nothing to recover. They can't go after the company because I already left the company. They can't go after the girls because they are adults and on their own. The only person they can go after is Kim, and I really don't care. Besides, she doesn't have the money to pay them off either." "Fine. So what's your plan?" "For now, I'm going to die." I refused the deal that was offered to me. It'll be a couple of months before the case goes to trial, and by then, I'll be gone. You really need to talk to your daughters. They should know, and they really care about what you did. I plan to do this tonight. Actually, you can do this in a few minutes. They're on their way. I have reserved a conference room for you for the rest of the day. Half an hour later, I sat across from my two daughters at the conference room table. "Dad, what the hell? The video of you punching that guy with a baseball bat is all over the news. And what the hell was Mom doing there?" Gina asked. I pushed the folder toward them. "Your mom was there because they had just left the motel room where they had lovemaking. He was your mother's lover. These are documents from the private investigator I hired. Did you know that he was a star football player in college and was expected to be drafted in the first or second round?" "You ruined his career," Susan said. "Yes, I knew that. I did this on purpose. He took the love of my life, so I took what he loves. But now he'll sue you for everything you have, and you'll go to jail for a long time." "Neither will happen. First, I made sure I had nothing to lose. I don't have any assets that anyone can take. The company is no longer registered in my name. It now belongs to a company in the name of Carly and you. All the money is in trust funds for the two of you. The house is actually in a trust in your name. You own everything. Carly is the executor of the trust. Your mother has no access to any of this. What you do for her is no longer my concern. Is there any chance you can make peace before you go to prison? No chance at all. And I already said that I won't go to jail." "Dad, be realistic. It is impossible that you will not be convicted. We watched all the news about it and read all the articles. There's no way you can get away with what you did. I won't get away with this. I'm not even trying." My emotions overwhelmed me from the moment my beautiful daughters entered the room. It hit me suddenly like a truck. I wouldn't be there for their college graduations. I wouldn't be there to walk them down the aisle at their weddings. I would never be able to hug my grandchildren. I cried. I felt the presence of two people next to me, and they were holding me with their arms wrapped around me. "Oh my God, what happened, Daddy?" Susan asked. "I'm dying, little ones. I have a really bad form of cancer. I have 2 months left at best." They both screamed. I suddenly felt someone behind me hug the three of us. I looked and saw tears running down Carly's cheeks. The four of us sat and cried for a few more minutes until we were able to get our emotions under control. Finally, I sat the girls back down in their chairs. "As you can see, I will be gone long before my trial begins. Besides, I'll be dead before any trial even starts. Once I leave, they won't be able to get anything from me. Everything I had was disposed of long before the attack. They can't even foreclose on the house because I sold it to a company. The proceeds from the sale went to a trust. This trust will be available to you when you reach age 30. I have no assets. I cashed out all my investments and donated them to charity. Why didn't you tell us about this earlier? Gina asked. I found out about this about a month ago. Right after I left the doctor's office, I saw your mother's car driving away from the university. Her lover was driving and she was in the passenger seat. I followed them to the motel they went to. I watched them enter the room, then waited for about 2 hours for them to leave. I was devastated. Not only did I find out that I only had months to live, but I also discovered that the love of my life was cheating on me. I spent the next 2 days planning what I would do. Here's the end result of this planning. We talked and cried together for another hour. Then it was time for business again. I invited Carly to join us. We discussed the company's new organizational structure. When Gina graduates, she will begin working with engineers. She will participate in all projects and attend management meetings. Once she receives her PE license, she will be given her own projects to manage. Over time, she will begin to help Carly run the company. It is hoped that by the time Gina turns 30, she will be able to take over as Chief Operating Officer. As for Sue, she will become Carly's assistant. When she graduates, she will work side by side with Carly on the business side of the firm. Sue will take over as CEO when she is ready. With Gina handling operations and Sue handling business, everything should work out well. Carly will also be available to consult and arbitrate between the two. A week later, I was living with my sister and hadn't spoken to Kim since she visited me in prison. I was sitting on the couch in Carly's living room. A bright light was shining on me, and sitting opposite me was a rather attractive red-haired woman. Good morning. This is Amy Brown from Crap News. I'm here with Dan Malloy, who is charged with causing grievous bodily injury during a brutal attack on a star player. Mr. Malloy kindly agreed to an interview. She looked toward the cameras, then turned to me. Mr. Malloy, I'm actually surprised that you're giving an interview. Are you concerned about the judge's gag order in this case? It doesn't bother me at all. There's really not much he can do about it. By the time it airs and he sees it, there's nothing he can do about it. But he can charge you with contempt of court and send you to prison. I laughed. Well, I really despise the divorce laws in this country. Look at them. A wife can cheat on her husband as much as she wants. If her husband tries to divorce her, she will get the children, the house, child support, and maintenance. She usually also receives most of the other assets. The poor man who marries her ends up living in a cheap apartment, eating top-quality ramen, and giving most of his income to his ex-wife to party with her string of lovers. They reward traitors and punish those who have done nothing wrong. Aren't you afraid of going to prison? Not in the least. What about the long prison sentence you are expecting? First of all, I wasn't actually convicted of anything. In our country, there's always a principle of innocent until proven guilty. Yes, but you must agree that there is irrefutable evidence against you. Yes, I am aware of this. I'm not the least bit worried about it. Fine. I can't wait to find out how you can be so sure of this. But what about Jamal's lawsuit against you? I understand that he is seeking over $40 million in compensation for lost income, pain and suffering, not to mention lifelong physical maintenance. Blood from a stone. It will not happen. There's nothing to take from me. I'm unemployed and homeless. I have no assets. But you have a successful engineering firm and a huge house. No, that's not true. I sold my business and home over a month ago. I put everything I owned into trust funds to ensure that my children would be taken care of if anything happened to me. All this was absolutely legal and ethical. All taxes have been duly paid. I cashed out all my investments and gave it all to charity. I don't even have a salary to garnish. Fine. Let's get back to the attack. You never denied that you did it, but you never said why. Why did you attack him? And why so viciously? It seems like you deliberately targeted areas that would destroy any chance of an NFL career. Oh, that was certainly my goal. If the police hadn't used a taser on me, I would have crushed his other elbow and then added a couple more good blows to the groin before stopping. It was never my intention to eliminate him, just to maim him and destroy his capabilities. The attempted homicide charge brought by the DA is a joke. My intention was never his end of life. In fact, I tried my best to avoid blows that could eliminate him. If I had wanted to do that, my first blow would have struck his head, not his arm. So why did you attack him in the first place? Isn't it obvious? Where did the attack take place? In the motel parking lot. Who was with him? My wife. They had an affair. They had just left the room they had been in for 2 hours. I decided that if he could take away the most important thing in my life, my soulmate, I would take away the most important thing in his life, his football career. Understand? You have certainly achieved your goal. What about your wife? After all, it takes two to tango. Are you planning to take revenge on her somehow? Yes, but I won't reveal it now. I won't use any physical violence on her, so you don't have to worry about that. My revenge on her for betraying me will be completely legal. Oh, she will suffer greatly, but she won't be able to do anything about it. In fact, what I planned has already been done, but she doesn't know about it yet. When will she find out? When will this interview air? Fine. Let's get back to your upcoming prison sentence. It doesn't threaten me. I still haven't been convicted by a court, then it's okay. How about we return to the question of your likely conviction and prison sentence? This question is much better. So why are you so sure that you will not be convicted and sent to prison? Let me begin by recounting the events of a day that occurred just over a month ago. I felt very tired and exhausted for a while, so I went to the doctor to get tested. About a week later, I came back to find out the results. They weren't good. I had just left the doctor's office when I saw my wife's car leaving campus. I thought it was weird because Jamal was driving her car and Kim was in the passenger seat. I followed them to the motel and waited several hours for them to come out. After seeing them together, I hired a private investigator to get hard evidence of what I saw. I also started taking action. According to what the doctor told me initially, these measures were supposed to include caring for Kim. After what I saw, I simply crossed out this part of the plans. Now, everything I did was to make sure my daughters were taken care of. They were always going to end up taking over the business, and I just made it official. I also hired a really good businesswoman to act as CEO and prepare the girls to take over when they were ready. I also transferred the company from a sole proprietorship to an LLC and transferred authority out of my own name. All the money I had is now put into a trust fund for the girls that is controlled by someone else. I also put the title of my home into a trust fund as a gift to the girls. So I'm not the least bit worried about possible recriminations because I won't be around. The doctor told me that I had really aggressive pancreatic cancer. It's incurable. At best, I have 2 months left. More than likely, I will die within a month. My trial won't even start for another 3 months. What are they going to do? As for my wife, I'm leaving her with nothing. Perhaps our daughters will take pity on her and help her. It's not my concern anymore. In addition, documents proving her affair with the student will be sent to the university council as well as to the relevant law enforcement agencies. I also have a copy for you if you would like. I must inform you that copies will also be sent to all major media outlets. You just ruined their lives. Don't you think it was a little over the top? Not in the least. They ruined my life or what was left of it. Imagine being given the worst possible news, and all you wanted was for your spouse to comfort you. Instead, less than half an hour later, you discover that your spouse is cheating on you. Yes, I will die soon. But they took away my chance to receive comfort from my wife in my last days. They ruined the rest of my life. So I ruined them. At least they will be alive and can try to restore everything. Perhaps he can at least become an example for all the other dirtbags who like to seduce married women? I shrugged. Fine. That's all we have at this moment. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. This is Amy Brown from Crap News. Amy gathered her notes and stood up. She shook my hand and passed me a note before leaving. After she left, a stunning blonde came in and sat next to me. A few minutes later, she was ready and the dazzling light came on again. This is Jessica Moore from Crap News. I am with Dan Malloy, who has been seriously pissed off when these interviews aired. I decided it was best to get them all done in one day before he could do anything about it. In any case, this was my last day of freedom. It didn't matter much where I was tomorrow. If he wanted to put me in jail for contempt of court, it would cost him a pretty penny. My lawyer would take care of that. Well, that pretty much ends there. I mustered what little strength I could still use before the first interview. By the end of the day, I was exhausted. Early the next morning, Carly took me to hospice where I would stay until everything was over. Yes, the judge disrespected me. He was about to send the cops to take my back to jail when my lawyer and doctor informed him that I would need to be admitted to the infirmary. Due to the state of my health, the cost of this will be high. They also indicated that they would be sure to mention it in the media. Instead, he had me put on an ankle monitor to make sure I wasn't leaving the hospice. I laughed. I had nowhere to go anyway. Carly and the girls visited me almost every day. I understood that they could not always come, but they were there when they could. Sometimes I was able to video chat with them. For a while, they kept me informed of events. Kim tried to visit me, but I crossed her off my visitor list. She gave the girls letters to give to me. They handed them to me when they arrived, and I just threw them in the trash after they left. I wasn't interested in anything she said. The district attorney initially tried to reschedule the trial date. My lawyer resisted. It soon became obvious that it didn't matter. I wouldn't be able to attend anyway. My lawyer then began a public campaign about how the DA was wasting money and resources by pursuing a case in which the defendant would be dead before trial. Being reasonable, the DA quietly dropped the case. Yes, a lawsuit was filed. In fact, both Kim and I were in it. Since we were still married, she would be responsible for my debts after my end of life. This made me laugh. My girls are here with me. Carly, too. I'm so exhausted. I can say this is the end. I don't want to fight this anymore. I have nothing left and no reason to continue. I see another person slowly enter my room. Kim, my wife. I haven't seen her since she visited me in prison immediately after my arrest. Yes, I asked her to come. She nervously enters the room and sits next to the bed. I'm sorry, she said. I know. I also wish I hadn't overdone it with you. No, you didn't overdo it. If you had left me anything, it would simply be taken away in a lawsuit. Besides, I was the one who screwed up and started the affair. I forgive you for this. I asked the girls to take care of you. I don't want you to go hungry or be homeless. I forgive you too. It's probably for the best. This fool will definitely try to take everything I have. As long as I have a place to live and enough money to live on, everything will be fine. I'm sorry I couldn't comfort you these past few months. That's all I did. I will have to live with this regret for the rest of my life. Don't be too hard on yourself. I left you. I could have just faced you and gotten over it. Instead, I acted out of revenge. You did what you thought you should have done. You were rightfully angry. Please know this. I never stopped loving you. I will love you until the day I die. When this happens, we will meet again, and I will love you forever. You are my soulmate. I forgot about it for a while, but I'm back. I see that you are tired now. Sleep, my love. Go in peace. We'll meet again. Dad prepaid for his funeral. He also had a funeral account set up in case his mother needed it. The plots have also already been purchased. We decided to have a private ceremony. It was only a family ceremony, but we agreed that 2 reporters could attend and film the video. We were adamant that they would not make a scene. It was a pleasure, and Amy and Jessica were very respectful. Jamal actually filed a lawsuit against Dad's estate. As you already know, he had no property to fight for. They tried to take over the business and trust funds, but we were able to defeat these claims. Dad had nothing to do with the firm at the time of the attack, and the trust funds were untouchable. Besides, Carly, Sue, and I were not involved in any way. Mom also acted dishonestly. A judgment was issued against her to recover $20 million. Even though she had nothing that they could take away, the decision still stood. Sue and I hired our mother as a cook and housekeeper. She gets free room and board. We make sure she has enough cash for the funds she needs. Everything is legal and fair, at least as far as anyone can prove. His lawyers sniff around for something from time to time. They don't get paid until he can collect the money. He doesn't have the money to pay them. Being them sucks. Eventually they will get tired of it and give up, at least until the fact that Mom has a lot of money becomes known to the general public. However, her name is kept secret. She's suffered enough. There is no point in adding anything else to this. Mom doesn't really date. She socializes with her friend groups. Sometimes she doesn't come home until the next morning. None of them are serious, just friends with benefits. She is adamant that she will never be in a serious relationship again. She will remain free until she meets Dad again. As for Jamal, he lives with his parents. His bedroom is on the first floor because he is not very good at using stairs. He was expelled as expected and refused to even think about going to another school. He just sits and plays video games, waiting for the money to come to him. That's probably why his parents put up with him, although I heard murmurs about how they were getting tired of waiting. Jamal may soon face a choice, be evicted or take action. So here's how things stand at the moment. Sue and I really take over the firm, and Aunt Carly stops by sometimes to help. She is now retired and living a good life. She even takes Mom on a cruise a couple of times a year. Right now, Sue has a steady boyfriend, and it looks pretty serious. As for me, well, I haven't found a single guy who looks like Mr. Right, although there are several Mr. Rights who are now just Mr. Correct. One of them may soon lose the last word in his title. Her name is Amy, and she is a local news reporter.